Hey guys, Johnny B. Jensen here, aka T. Blackjacks. Community, Season 6, Episode 9, Grifting 101. So I haven't been able to cover Community this year at all so far, given the young age of this YouTube channel, but I'm going to start doing it, and I might do it in video format like I'm doing right now, me talking to the camera. It might be in podcast format. It all just depends on the content of the episode, how much there is to talk about, and, you know, who's seen it and who wants to talk about it. I'm also going to be talking about these episodes in depth, so obviously there's going to be some spoilers here, and these reviews will function better for you if you have absorbed the material already. And before I get into this episode, specifically Grifting 101, this will be my first online record of my thoughts on Community, so I'll give you my whole spiel on how I feel about the show. I absolutely adore this show, and some of my best TV watching experiences in my life have come from watching this show progress through various cast changes, crew changes, and consequently thereafter, entire identity changes. Seasons 1 and 2 of Community are a hilarious, razor-sharp ensemble comedy detailing the wacky, miscellaneous adventures of a bunch of community college misfits. These characters all came from very distinct and kind of dark backgrounds, and they all fused together into this study group that was just a treasure to watch. Within the show's premise, it also built itself on being self-aware, larger than life, and delivering some pretty insanely awesome pop culture parodies. In those first couple seasons, and as the show continued on to its third, it continued to push high concept further and further, and gave us, in my opinion, some of the best television episodes ever. Season 4, I'd rather not talk about Season 4, but neither would anyone in making the show past that point, as it has been so aptly and not so affectionately titled the gas leak year. Dan Harmon, creator and maestro of Community, wasn't around for Season 4, nor were a lot of the show's writing mainstays, and what we got from that season was a severe lack of understanding of what this show is, of what these characters were. A lot of the original crew returned to Season 5, including Dan Harmon, and it was a welcome return. However, Season 5 and this new Season 6 on Yahoo Screen have seen the departure of many of our favorite characters on the show, and also seen some significant budget cuts. Thankfully, even through all that, Community has played to its strengths and even given actual screen time to talking about the things that are happening behind the scenes of the show in its meta way. The way they handled Donald Glover leaving midway through Season 5 was pretty damn beautiful, and they reset that entire narrative path. You know, we were like, what's going to happen with Abed? What's going to happen with that whole dynamic? The whole spirit of the show is going to be weird. For a character that was so essential to the spirit of Community, it seemed a near impossible feat to send that character off in a way that wouldn't send things immediately crashing and burning. But they did it! These writers are smart, man. They know what they're doing. The absence of Troy, Pierce, and Shirley in Season 6 is definitely noticeable, but I'll be honest, the way it's been handled, I really haven't felt it at all, since this is basically an entirely different show now. Season 6 is just kind of like, hey, fuck it. We know the show's radically different, and we're just going to work with that. At this point, Jeff has completely given up his ambitions of returning to his life as a lawyer, thank God. I mean, I loved how that factored into Season 5 as a method of repiloting, but I think we're definitely beyond that now. And what was once the study group is now the Save Greendale Committee. The show has shifted its focus quite a bit from being a show about all of these characters and the way they all relate to each other and their lives and how Greendale has kind of factored around that. The show's now kind of about Greendale. Greendale in this season feels more so than it ever did before like a character. And that's just a great writing decision. All the various ways they've gone about maturing the show and its characters have been really interesting to me. I love that Britta is an actual person now. She went so off the rails from Season 3 forward, and it's really nice to see her becoming more and more grounded alongside the rest of Community. And it's still really fun. Like, when I talk about the show being more grounded now, I don't mean to erase that from the equation. It's still really fun and really funny. I was nervous about new additions to the cast and characters like Chang and the Dean coming to the forefront more, but it's all worked. The episode Queer Studies and Advanced Waxing earlier on in season 6, in which Chang and the Dean are the 2 points of focus, I think that episode is honestly one of the best episodes of the entire show. It also made the Dean one of my favorites to watch this season. And now that we're into the season, up to Grifting 101, here are a few things I've noticed. 1, it feels like a lot more energy was put into the first half of this season. 2, season 6 definitely has a minuscule budget, even compared to season 4 and 5. And 3, hey, it's a parody. Cool. Those 3 points do sound kind of negative, but I really don't mean them to. I enjoyed this episode. It's just really not on the level of some of the stuff earlier on in the season. To the point about this episode feeling a little less energetic, it does. It just feels like we're going through the motions. It's an episode that's in the lineup, but will be completely forgotten. There are plenty of funny moments, but really the heights of this episode only ever feel like a faint echo of higher heights of episodes like Conspiracy Theories and Interior Design in season 2. It's that same kind of episode, only with less verve. The plot here goes, everyone in the no longer a study group inexplicably enrolls in a grifting class. I like the carryover joke here of Britta needing to borrow money from people in order to take the class. It's a nice little bit of writing that makes sense and echoes things in the past. I'll get it from your parents. Of course, Jeff is not buying it, suspecting that a teacher who teaches a class on grifting is going to grift the students. Pretty sensible hypothesis from Jeff, but of course they all ignore him and things pretty much go as you'd predict. I love that this show gets so much comedic mileage out of the word grift. That and how obviously convoluted everything going on here is, it's a pretty funny setup. It's not genius or hysterical or anything like that, but it's funny, and I really did like Matt Berry's guest star turn as the professor of grifting at Greendale. To my second point that I made earlier, this feels much cheaper. Part of me's been hoping in the moments of the show that seem of a very much lower production value that this season's budget has all been saved up to deliver us a really awesome paintball episode that we know is coming in a couple of weeks. I don't know if that's the case, but I hope so. Because I'm okay with episodes like this, it's just I'd really like to see something of a big community-worthy scale again, you know? And yeah, it's a parody episode. They're parodying The Sting. It's fine. Honestly, there's not a lot to talk about with this episode beyond the surface level of just the jokes, because that's pretty much where they're operating. Nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just how it is. I mentioned the Britta borrowing money bit. I also really loved Elroy later in this episode trying to explain the origin story of this group of characters. That was really funny. I just love Elroy in general. His reactions to things are so funny. Jeff's inner conflict of needing to be the cunning badass who gets the grifter back for grifting everyone was funny. If, you know, a little been there, done that. I did love the line of Jeff saying something to the effect of, like, you guys are always picking on me. Also, is Jeff eating French fries now? Good for you, man. Good for you. Other things I loved were Chang being grifted into buying a pair of socks. But, you know, they were half off, so maybe he was the grifter. I also dug the running joke of Annie and Abed really getting into the art of switching back and forth briefcases. Other callback jokes worked pretty well here. The Britta I lived in New York line was pretty cool here, and I loved the reference after they did the whole African telegram thing, where Matt Berry's like, that's the Jim Belushi of grifts, or whatever that line was. That made me laugh. That made me laugh out loud. Frankie was really weirdly utilized in this episode, but when she popped up, that was kind of weird and funny. And also, was she making a closing time reference? Because if so, what? I like this episode. It was fine. I'll probably forget about it next week if the next episode is better, and hopefully it is. But there were laughs in here. You know, didn't do a lot to progress story or character at all, but decent laughs. I like the premise. Yeah, I'll give this episode a 64 I was going to say 63, but you know what? 64. It's fine, but it's funny. I'll see you guys next week for my review of Season 6, Episode 10. And the week after that, guys, it's a new paintball episode. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and go to artfilmthink.com. I just uploaded a list there of my letter grade ratings for all of the episodes of Community thus far. So, yeah. Go over there. Check it out. Johnny B. Jensen. See you later.